So, the last one I recorded was like 26-ish minutes. And, in that time, I only amassed a little bit under 2 gigs worth of storage on high definition 30 FPS. So, I'm going to continue doing that, and, I'll sacrifice a bit of resolution to be able to continue doing this. So, yeah. And then also, I think I'd just kick it off right here, right now. I am, I'm not anymore. I was, earlier today, extremely pissed off. I'm talking generational levels of crash out. Mainly just because of just driving, Driving is a bitch. It usually is. And it could be for a couple of reasons. One reason is that, I have acquired the taste and need for speed. And in doing so, everybody else around me seems to be going incredibly slow, which pisses me off. It could also be that I am just incredibly impatient. Honestly, I think it's a combination of the two. But I was getting so pissed off because I had to move some stuff to a storage unit, and I was following my dad. And he was, in his vehicle driving to the storage unit, and it felt like the universe was conspiring against me. As if somebody had put some sort of fucking worldwide fucking, bolo on my car to, if you see this man, annoy the shit out of him, start messing with him, because literally, I cannot recall, I did not count how many vehicles that tried to pull in front of me, that tried to, block me out of getting into a lane I needed to get into. Literally, just fucking getting in my way all the time. It was like the universe was trying to prevent me from being able to follow my father to the storage unit. It was like it was just trying to get me to pull up my GPS and, put in the location, which I didn't even know the address of the storage unit. I didn't even know, what it was called. So that would have been an annoying thing to try to find. But it was like that they were trying to separate me so that I could stop. And I thwarted all such attempts. I managed to make it there without having to, do a GPS thing. But then I had to go pick up my brother pretty much immediately after. And so because of that, I was going to be, pushing it on time because the drive there is just so long. And so, having to pick up my brother, I dropped off the stuff that I needed to drop off, and I started moving. And it was like things were still conspiring against me, trying to slow me down at every turn. And part of me feels like some speed limits on, the highways, the maximum speed limit here is a little bit slow in my opinion. I don't care what the actuaries said. To be honest, I think that the speed limit should be towards the highest that one can be comfortable in an average vehicle. Because, in my vehicle, if you go, over 110, it starts to get a bit uncomfortable. You start to feel like you're going too fast. I feel like that should be, the thing. That, the standard. I feel like if you had, a 90 speed limit, you'd be okay. You'd be fine. Now, more people may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Nah, it's just, it pisses me off. That, like, people, because also people will go the speed limit. Like, for a lot of my childhood, I was told that, like, the norm on, like, major roads was to go, like, 10 over, and that the norm on, like, minor roads was to go 5 over. And, sometimes that's true. But, for the most part, especially as of late, I've seen people's speeds creep closer and closer to the speed limit. And it's made me, significantly more road rage prone because of that. Because, I like going 10 over the speed limit. Don't, brat me out or whatever. But I think that that's a reasonable level. But, of course, these people are being, slow. And again, probably impatience, probably just that I've gotten so acclimated to speed that it feels unnatural and slow to go normal speeds. That could be the case. I don't know, it just makes me mad. Honestly, I think the worst part of that drive, though, was when my GPS had told me to get off of the highway and to get onto surface streets, which, wouldn't sound weird, it wouldn't sound strange, except for the fact that my GPS, under no circumstances, tells me to not use the highway. Like, well, I mean, it does in some cases, but not on that drive. On that drive, it pretty much treats the highway as if it's the only way in or out of the area that, I have to pick my brother up from. Like, it treats it as though any other street is fucking lava, but it directed me to surface streets, which told me immediately, the highway must be fucked. Like, literally, it could be a 30-minute long traffic jam on the highway, and it will still tell me to take the highway instead of getting off onto surface streets. And I always wondered why that was. And I found out recently why that was. Because, I had to get off the highway to go pick my brother up. So I got off the highway, and every single surface street from where I got off to where I arrived was a 35 mile per hour zone. You would not believe how pissed I was. There weren't even, there were houses on, some of the roads. But for the most part, some of the roads that I was on were, major road level roads. And they were 35 mile per hour zones. And the worst part was that people were going either exactly the speed limit or under. There were times where I was driving at 30 miles per hour on a normal road. I was yelling about how I was going to murder people in great detail. I was going to murder everyone who decided that, if there was any sort of committee, or if it was a city planner, civil engineer, whatever you want. Whoever decided that, I was gonna murder the people in front of me for going 5 under such a egregiously low speed limit. Like, a crime against humanity, essentially. And I made it to pick my brother up, and everything was fine. But that type of thing stressed me so much, because it's like, bro, you are going so unfathomably slow. You do realize you're in a vehicle, an automobile, a fucking, car, and not a horse and carriage, jackass. Like, what? I was stunned, flabbergasted, bamboozled. What the hell? Who does that? Obviously, whoever the people who decided those speed limits are are clearly sick freaks and belong in jail and need to be locked up and fucking probably get off to thinking about all of the people that they fucking fucked over by making that speed limit. Holy shit. You know, and that's just the residual anger from remembering that. I don't think that I'll ever truly get angry on camera. I rarely ever get truly angry in front of people, and I'm pretty well able to, like, filter that out, because I would be saying some of the most horrible strings of words that you have ever heard in your life if I got truly angry in front of you in person or in front of you, you know, on a video. That's the type of video I'm not posting. That's the type of thing, like, if I could not rein in my anger to such an extent, then I could never live stream, because, you know, I would get so banned so quickly if ever I got truly unbridledly angry at anything, like, while I was on a live stream. That would just, it would be unthinkable, the things that I would say, you know? And that's just the way it is. But fortunately, I am pretty good at reining it in. But yeah, no, it was infuriating, to say the least. And then, on the ride back, you know, I was getting mad at people for being slow again. And so I just completely took one whole giant self-prescribed chill pill. I did. And that was a way of saying that I mellowed the fuck out, and not that I was playfully yet passionately popping pounds of pills while pulling more prescriptions for Percocets and oxycodone, because that, it doesn't start with a P, but LMNOP, so it, you know, close enough. Also, they fucking changed the alphabet song. I know a ton of people talked about it. It was on, like, the internet forever, but it's still fucking stupid. It's LMNOP, you fucking bastards. Anyway. Yeah, I just wanted to alliterate, and yeah. But yeah. Now, that's the thing, though. That's the thing with me, really, is that, like, I'm quite self-aware and, like, quite logically thinking, but at the end of the day, like, I have so much emotion, like, just bounds and bounds of it. It's probably, in part, what makes me a good actor, because I have so much emotion that I can let loose at any given second, you know. But, you know, there are things that numb me, like everyone else. There are things that, like, suppress that. And one of those things is just living life, you know, like, especially when I'm not living life, you know. And that's a weird sentence, but essentially what it means is that if I'm just existing in a monotonous state, that can numb my emotions so fast, and it just feels like I'm just... Obviously, it's like a depressive state almost. Not quite, because it's not the lack of passion or the lack of, like, motivation to do anything that's causing it. It's that, you know, just existing in a state where I'm really not doing anything is the type of thing that, you know, it takes away my emotion. It doesn't make me sad. It just makes me lifeless. It makes me numb. It, you know, I wish I could say it hurt, because then at least it would make me feel something. It just doesn't, you know? It just doesn't. Now, it's interesting, actually, because there's nothing really to, you know, nothing really, like, genetic, anything I was born with that makes me the way I am. And by that, I mean, I have so much emotion. I am full of so much life. I'm not, like, a psychopath. I'm not, you know, just naturally emotionless, but I'm extremely apathetic, you know? And I think that it's in part due to, God, I just said in part twice, and now it's gonna bug me for the rest of these few seconds, because I'm gonna get over it real quick. But it's partially due to the fact that, like, partially due to the choices I've made, and my perception of, like, you know, my environments, my surroundings, the people around me, and the way they have existed in life, because I'm not going to say that my environment is the reason I am the way I am. Because that's, you know, a victim mindset. It's like, well, it's not my fault that I turned out this way. I just kinda did. And I think Eric Cartman is probably one of the best, most well-written examples of somebody who has just a total victim mindset. Where nothing he ever does is his fault, and, like, anything and everything that ever happens to him is somebody else's, you know, somebody else's doing. The responsibility never falls on him, and because of his inability to take responsibility, it feeds in to his, you know, his thoughts, his ideas, his harmful, toxic way of thinking. And to be honest, like, you would think, well, no, Cartman doesn't actually think he's the victim. Cartman's just an evil, manipulative little piece of shit. Like, he knows clearly on some level that he's not actually the victim, and he just plays the victim card, you know, all the time. But in my personal opinion, I don't believe that's the case. In fact, I think that, you know, throughout South Park, a couple times, it's been completely shown where he believes his own hype. Yes, he's evil and manipulative. There's no question that he's evil and manipulative, but he's also completely delusional. He is the, you know, he is the peak of a victim mindset, because of the fact that literally nothing he ever does is his fault, and literally nothing that ever happens to him is his fault. He fully and wholeheartedly believes that. And, you know, I think that, honestly, a victim complex, especially with that severity, should be called, like, a Cartman complex. Because, you know, we don't call the Oedipus complex the motherfucker complex. Like, a victim complex is just a victim complex. But especially when someone is so victimizing that they believe that literally everything that they have ever done is somebody else's doing, or everything that's ever happened to them is somebody else's fault. Like, I think that should be called the Cartman complex. And that was just, you know, a little side fucking... It happens a lot. A little tangent. But essentially, the point was that the way I perceived those things is probably partially why I've become, like, so jaded and apathetic and really just, like, detached from other people. Not like my friends and those in my direct vicinity, but I feel no reason nor purpose for assisting others just because they're also human beings. I see no, like, value in specifically human beings. That doesn't mean that I don't see value in you guys, because, you know, you've shared kind words with me, and you have, in some strange, twisted sense, proven your value to me as a human, which is a horrible thing to hear. And I genuinely, like, I hope that I don't upset anybody by saying that. But, like, I got to this point because of me. And I think that a lot of people should take responsibility for the things that they think. of course, not to victim blame, but also not to victimize, you know? Most of the things that have happened in my life, most of the reasons that I am the way I am, come from the choices I've made, the results of those choices, and the way that I have perceived my environment growing up. Because my environment itself did not twist me in such a way. But my environment influenced me because of the fact that I perceived it in a specific way. It is just such a strange thing how somebody with so much emotion, so much love, so much hate, so much, desire, so much passion, so much anger, sadness, joy, all of the emotions, literally so much emotion, can become so detached and isolated from everybody else. You would think that I would have bounds of compassion, but because of the way that I, sort of grew up and the way I, cultivated myself, I did bring this on myself, I really did do this to myself. But, unlike a lot of people who have detached themselves from the rest of humanity, I'm not evil. I'm just kind of strange. I would completely believe that, I would fully believe that Elon Musk is probably detached from a lot of other people, probably probably doesn't see value in humans just because of the fact that they're humans. Doesn't see value in specific lives just because of the fact that they're living human beings. But I have a sneaking suspicion that he might, lack maturity, and he may even, and this is speculation, have what I previously referred to as a Cartman complex. That's just my personal speculation. That's not a defamatory comment, not that Elon Musk is ever gonna see this. But if he did, hi, bro, what's good? Home slice? Fuck if I know what to actually say. Anyway, no, that's not the point. I think that I did become kind of a monster of sorts, but my self-awareness and logical thinking and understanding of why the way that I feel about other people is in fact wrong has mitigated the damage that it could have done. Because I could be just a total fucking horrible person who takes advantage of other people simply because of the fact that I don't find value in them. But because I'm so knowledgeable about because I'm so, knowledgeable about a lot of sociology, at least the basics, and because, I have people that I actually can give a shit about and feel emotions for, I prevented myself from being the biggest piece of shit on the planet, while still understanding that I kind of am the way I am. And don't get me wrong, promotion of genuinely good change is a great idea. I'm not sure that that's a change I can even make. It's kind of just ingrained into my psyche at this point. But I'm not the worst human being, so but you guys are all cool, and I think of you guys as human beings. I'm going to probably make a Discord and put it in a pinned comment in this so that you guys can talk to me, because I've gotten multiple requests of people who just want to kind of hang out. As I previously mentioned, I could do with a relatively skilled Marvel Rivals lobby. I pretty much just fill any role that is needed. Because of the fact that I can't stand the fucking pieces of shit who will see 4 DPS in a lobby and be like, yeah, that's fine. So if you guys want to play Marvel Rivals, that's cool. I also have Jackbox games, like Jackbox party packs. I'm pretty sure I have, like, all of the party packs. Some of them may or may not have been taken under dubious circumstances from questionable sources, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm broke, don't come at me, but I think, like, yeah, I believe about half of them were acquired under non-dubious circumstances. So, buy one, get one free? Regardless, yeah, I'd be cool to hang out with some of you, talk to you. Because for some reason, you think me to be an interesting and cool individual instead of, you know, the fucking idiot that I am. So, yay. Hooray. Huzzah. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think that, like, a lot of my logical thinking doesn't really mix with the emotion. Don't get me wrong, like, logic and emotion can coincide. You can logically reason why you're feeling the way you're feeling. But emotions are strange things. They're a different breed of thing. And so, while you can rationalize, you know, the reason you think the way you think, and the reason you feel the way you feel, sometimes you just feel things inexplicably. And so the way I kind of thought about it was just like monochrome thinking, not knowing what to do when there is a sudden and, like, swift burst of just color, like, and I'm not talking just, like, colors, I'm talking, like, the sensation of color, the, you know, the feeling of color, and really the most vibrant and, like, powerful color. That's the way a very, very, like, that's the way, like, it feels when I kind of get, like, overwhelmed with emotion while, you know, maintaining my logical thinking. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem to blend well, in my opinion. Like, I can point out, this made me feel this way specifically, but that's never really helped me. I don't know, I'm just yapping nonsense at this point. Additionally, I did want to kind of maybe practice what I was gonna say to a specific person who is not being themselves. So I'm probably gonna do that here, you know, for your entertainment and, you know, for my sake, just so that I can kind of work out the kind of words that I want to say. I've said kinda so many times, God. So yeah. Also, before I say this, I would like to point out that this is completely unrelated, but I was thinking about it and I wanted to know some of you guys' thoughts, especially some of you guys' music tastes. So, 2021 or 2022, my friend and I were talking, and I made a realization and started speculating, as I usually do. And the realization was that Fall Out Boy, the, you know, extremely popular band, often called emo, but in my opinion, that's not a, like, super apt designation. in my personal opinion, I think that they are like emo adjacent. I think that they do have some like emo song lines, but I've never viewed them as specifically emo. Like there is specifically emo music, but I've never felt that Fall Out Boy really fit that moniker specifically. Like I feel like that's adjacent. I feel like it's close, but I feel like it's not quite. I feel like a lot of their older stuff was more punk. They did kind of get into a little bit of pop rock in the 2010s. And, you know, and then in their most recent album, they kind of blended their old and new styles, which I really liked. But in 2020 or 2021, or maybe even 2022, I speculated that I don't want to spoil too much about what I'm going to say, but basically, I looked at their major studio albums, and I noticed that they had one in 2003, 2005, and 2008. Don't come at me about Infinity on High. I know it's 2006. I know it's a major studio album, and I love that album, but let's exclude Infinity on High from this conversation at the moment. They have a major studio album 2003, major studio album 2005, major studio album 2008. Then they have one in 2013, 2015, and 2018. And so I was like, you know what I bet the next one's coming out? 2023. And you know what fucking happened? Their next major studio album came out in 2023. I'm a goddamn genius. Which means that, according to the pattern that I recognized, this year, big 2025, could be the year that their next major studio album releases. I'm sure whatever facial expression I made just then was extremely hideous. But anyway, it would be irrational for me to get excited over speculation. But I'm only rational in thought and not rational in feeling, and therefore I'm still excited. I'm very hopeful. And my dreams will be crushed if they do not release this year. Anyway. So, I'm gonna start. Hi, bro. So, I kind of noticed that really you've been trying to base yourself off of other people, or you've been taking feedback on the directions in which you should grow as a person and the directions you should, you've kind of been asking other people how to become a better version of yourself. And don't get me wrong, wanting to better yourself is great. Wanting to be the best version of yourself is amazing. And I've also noticed that you've kind of started looking up to some people and kind of started, trying to be like them because they are, good people to be, in a sense. But, also, I feel like some of your interests have kind of sprung from the people you're trying to liken yourself to. And I just wanted to say that if that is what makes you happy, I will support you 100%. You mean a lot to me, and I would never try and contest the kind of person you truly want to become. But, and I mean, this might be heavily influenced by the kind of person I am and the kind of individuality that I believe in. But I think that maybe you should just go back to the basics and try and figure out who you want to become for you. Not for any reasons that other people would like, not for any reasons that, like, not to liken yourself to anybody else, not to even use anybody else as a template for who to become, not because of who the best man is, not because of trying to be the best man, but just try to be the best you. You know, and don't get me wrong, I understand that we've changed in different ways over the years, and I'm not trying to get back the friend that I used to have. That would be silly, especially since you've grown so much as a person from, you know, from when we first met. And I would never want for you to backpedal or backtrack on any of the good, important things that you've done to better yourself. But I feel like you've let other people decide so much about you. I've noticed that maybe your music tastes, you know, not your core music taste, not the stuff that you grew up with, not the stuff that we listened to together, that still stayed the same, but like some of your more current music tastes have either been influenced by girlfriends, girls you've liked, or, you know, groups of people that you hang out with. And, you know, if you really like that, if that really is your favorite, then, you know, continue listening to it. But, you know, I think that you should listen to the things you want to listen to. Like, genuinely you. Not the music you want to listen to because of who recommended it to you. Not because of, you know, what it means to somebody else, but because of what it means to you. And, you know, like, if it means a lot to you already, then by all means, continue listening to it. I don't know. I just feel like I've watched you change so much because of the people you regularly interact with, and not alongside them, you know? I personally am a very, very independent person who tries his best to be a unique individual, and so I understand if you know, are taking this to mean that I want you to be like me. Not in the sense that I want you to be a similar person to me, but in the sense that I want you to be independent and in stark contrast to everybody else around you. That's not my meaning. I just think that you should look at every part of you that maybe is derived from either using somebody else as a template, is derived from looking favorably in someone else's eye. Find the most core part of you, strip away the rest of the other stuff, and ask yourself, how do you want you to grow? Not because, you know, people around you want you to grow that way, not because, you know, not because you have to grow in any particular direction, but because you want to grow in that direction, you know? And if this is really what you want, again, I support you 100%. But I don't want you to build yourself with, you know, other people as the blueprints, and other people as like the moderators, where you're trying to build something that fits other people better. I don't want your proverbial shoes to be too tight because they fit somebody else. I mean, you know, when they say walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, if you're a size fucking 14 and you're trying to walk in the size of a size 10, you're gonna be hurting at the end of the road. And that's the last thing I want for you. So, if you could, at least, even if you think right now in this moment that everything you are doing or thinking or any direction you want to change is for you, even if you think that right now in this moment, please just, for me, think about it. Do a little bit of introspection, You might come up empty and find nothing about yourself that was really for anyone else, and maybe I misinterpreted the situation. Maybe I misread it. But at least for me, truly think, how much of you is you? That's all I wanted to say. No matter who you end up being, no matter, how different we become, you'll always be like my brother, and I'm not gonna abandon you. There was even a time when we kind of resented each other. You resented me, and I resented you for resenting me. And I really regret that, because I spent a lot of time being mad at you and the people around you who I felt were kind of pulling you in a direction that caused you to resent me. And I spent so much time just being pissed off and, agitated, that we didn't hang out that much. And, now we're becoming adults, and it all seems so silly. And, you're probably gonna, not probably, you're gonna be, moving away to across the country. And, later this year. It's not immediate, but just take a look inside and see if you truly remember how to be you. That's all I want. Anyway, I think I'm gonna cut it off there. I gotta stop outroing it. I gotta just, I just gotta go for it, I just gotta spontaneously fucking Wolverine your ass. Because if I outro it, then it's automatically cringe. So I think you can see me in cringe fashion. Thank you. Surprise, bitch!